Welcome to the kickoff video for WAFUNIF Lunch and Learn series. My name is Liliana Bukur-Kress, and I'm the president of WAFUNIF, the World Association of Former United Nations Interns and Fellows, the official alumni association for former UN interns and fellows worldwide. We work with representatives from various organizations such as technologies and policymakers and financiers and community representatives to educate and empower individuals to make a difference by discussing problems and solutions on a global scale. Through conferences and workshops and mentorship programs, we equip our members with the skills and the resources to drive positive change on global issues. Today, I have the honor to interview the founder of Agewell Foundation, a pioneering nonprofit organization dedicated to the welfare and empowerment of older individuals across India since 1999. Interacting with more than 25,000 seniors daily through a vast volunteering network, Agewell Foundation addresses critical issues such as healthcare, legal aid, and social isolation. Recognized by United Nations with special consultative status, the foundation plays a significant role in advocating for elder rights and enhancing their quality of life. Join us as we delve into their impactful initiatives and future goals. Good morning and good afternoon for us, Mr. Himanshu Rath. How are you today?
Good morning to all of you, and thank you. I'm good. How about you?
We are good, thank you, and I'm so honored to meet you and to have a discussion, a dialogue with you about your foundation. And I would like to start with a quote. You mentioned in an interview that to change the perception about the old age and bring about a shift from pity and helplessness to self-confidence and dignity for all the persons, Agewell Foundation is committed to reassure, assist, and be there for all their people always and in any ways. You mentioned that it is not just a profession, it's a passion that you have.
That's right.
I would like to start by asking you, what inspired the creation of Agewell Foundation 25 years ago, and how does its mission drive its work?
It's simple. See, as compared to any other part of the world, India and Indian ethos is all about long age. It is in our nomenclature that when we have to bless, any younger person meets a older person, touches the feet of the older person. And the only blessing at that point of time is live long, be a centurion. Even when we are talking to a friend, even if it is on phone, normally we would say, oh, I was just thinking about you, you're going to live for 100 years. So that's the wish that we all have. I think perhaps this is not the norm around the world. You go through English literature, Spanish literature, German literature, any other language literature, Russian literature. There is no expression like be a centurion. Like entire Shakespeare you go through, it doesn't say anywhere, there's no blessing like be a centurion. Around the world, the blessing perhaps, the only blessing perhaps is may God bless you. The God may bless you with whatever the God wants to bless you with. Here, we take on the responsibility of blessing ourselves, and we are talking of long age, which brings to the which is very, very difficult to define in today's world, where within the four walls of our families, in the modern world, we reject old people. We find them in the way. But socially, the moment you step out of the four walls of your home, in the outside world, we all double up in front of every elder person. Oh, how are you, uncle? How are you, auntie? You had your medicine. How are you keeping? So on and so forth. We try and be as polite as possible. So that's the dichotomy the Indian society is going through. And that is what prompted me to think about old people and look into the kind of problems that they face and work for it. It all started with a basic thought of creating a better tomorrow for old people.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the genesis of everything.
No, that's a wonderful purpose too that you have and you're still doing for so many years. And I would like to talk about the programs and services that your foundation is doing. And can you provide an overview of the key programs and services offered by the Agewell Foundation to support the elderly population?
See, it all started with creating a network of volunteers. So currently we have about 80,000 plus volunteers across the country, across India, covering all the 768 districts that we have. Every district would have about 15, 20 of these volunteers. Uh, Through the volunteers, we manage helplines, wherein these volunteers go and meet old people who need any kind of assistance, try and understand their problems, and help them find solutions for them. The volunteers are not the solution. Volunteers are only a means to find a solution. So that is what the helpline does. But while interacting with such a large number of old people, India is a big country. The numbers are phenomenal. Like India alone currently has about 150 million old people, which is much larger, like larger than the population of large number of countries around the world. Most countries would not have that kind of population even. When we interact with thousands of old people on a daily basis, our volunteers interact with them, we come to know of so many different layers of issues that old people face. Most of it emanates from interpersonal relations within the family, because generations live together.
Yeah.
The expectations of one generation from another generation is never met. The younger people look at old people in a different frame, and old people expect so many things from young people. And over the years, now the biggest difference, which is a worldwide phenomena now, most old people in the world speak through their tongue. They speak. When they're speaking through their tongue. But the younger people now, they communicate through their thumb. They are always sending messages. So when the mode of communication has changed, the understanding between two generations has also gone for a flip. When our volunteers interact with such large number of people, we come across several issues. So we convert those issues into a questionnaire and circulate it amongst our volunteers. So they collect data. Now, data collection is one of the toughest job in today's world and a very costly affair. But in our case, because the volunteers are there, we don't have to spend money on that. So we collect data, analyze them, and come up with a report. So far we have about 53 national reports with sample size of anything between 10,000 to 100,000. So these are reports about issues concerning old people. Now, issues concerning old people would mean that most issues are common, be it Asia, Europe, Africa, any part of the world. Old people are old people, and their issues are quite common. So that's an information which is very useful for large number of people around the world. So one, we have helplines. Two, we are heavily into research. Three, after interacting with large number of old people, we realize that most people now are living longer. Now, if you retire at 60 and you are going to live till about 90 or 100, you have clear 30, 35 years, 40 years even of life with no income. Most people don't get any pension. Now, living for that long, if it's a couple, like two people living together for that long without any source of income, is a huge challenge. You see, if you're living till about 60, 65, usually you will fall sick in your 60s, early 60s or sometime. Your children would be about 20, 25, 30. They would have the initiative to beg, borrow, steal, and look after your health or look after your needs. Yeah. But if you're going to live till 90, you invariably fall sick in your 80s. The children by then are about 50, 55, 60 themselves. Now they need money for their own old age. They need money for so many other things. So they are not there to financially support the parents. So then we started off with an employment exchange for the second job for retired people. and we started assisting large number of people in getting jobs. Now, if an old person is going in for a job, that old person would need retooling, like knowledge about computers, knowledge about modern ways of communication, and so on. So we retool them and we guide them and assist them in getting jobs. So we have an employment exchange for retired people. It's a free service again. We don't charge anything from the employer or the employee. Now, as a subsidiary to this, we started off with an advocacy program wherein we started advising old people to take up tuitions. You know, if you are even slightly educated, and if you have lived till 60 years of your life, there's so much of wisdom, so much of knowledge that a person gains. And in today's world, most families have two salary families where husband and wife both go out to work. And if both of them are going out to work, and if there's a young child at home, there is no one to even assist the child complete his or her homework. So these old people, wherever they live, there would be certain households in the vicinity, and they could be tutors. And as a tutor, you earn a lot of money. So currently, about 500,000 people are working as tutors under this program. So this is for income generation and re-employment of old people. Plus, now that we are about 25 years old, more than 25 years old, large number of individuals and organizations through their CSR, that is corporate social responsibility programs and so on, give us money. So with that money, we started distributing wheelchairs, walkers, adult diapers, and food ration packets. So that's what we distribute. Essentially, these are the four main activities that we get involved in. Simultaneously, we provide digital literacy. We conduct digital literacy classes for old people, or have a collection program for woolens during winters and redistribute them amongst the poor and so on. So that is what essentially we do. Very small work, but then it occupies us 100%.
And in terms of, let's say, successful stories, could you share a notable success story that highlights the impact of Agewell Foundation and the work in the lives of the seniors? I'm sure you have many stories.
There are two different ways of explaining this. One, when we have this helpline, now the very existence of a helpline, not just a helpline on phone, but the fact that there are volunteers who are nearby and who are there to assist you, hold your hand, and be there with you at a time when you need them, is a huge support system for old people. It's like having a police station near where you live. Most of us in the educated world, in the urban areas, or even in rural areas, we hardly ever visit a police station in our lifetime. Like, how many of us have ever been to a police station? But we all live with that sense of comfort, sense of safety, that there are cops around, so we are safe. Right? The same is with this support system, where old people feel comfortable that in case of any problem, I can always depend on these volunteers. So, one, we have managed to create that sense of safety, sense of security amongst a huge number of millions of old people. That yes, the volunteers are there, and in case of any need, I can go back to them. So I think that is very, very important. Two, the research work that we do, that gives the data, information, ideas to policymakers. Because all over the world, the number of older people is increasing every day. As a matter of fact, the supply line is decreasing. Most women are now working. Number of children has come down. Economically also, it's not very practical to have more than 2 or 3 children to manage. Most families have one child only, or maximum of 2 children. But old people in 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, world was like the children were being produced in large numbers. So they all are turning 60 at a very fast pace. So all over the world, the number of older people in their population is shooting up, which used to be minuscule earlier. So now policymakers have to, they're forced to come up with new policies for providing to provide for these old people. So our research reports are very useful as a point of reference for the policymakers.
Mm-hmm.
So that is the second part of what we are doing. Third is giving the confidence to old people to live comfortably in their old age through a second job.
Mm-hmm.
Earlier on, there was no concept of going in for a second job post-retirement. People used to look forward to the fact that, okay, now I'm going to retire and I'll live comfortably. But then living for 40 years is not a very comfortable scenario with whatever amount of money that you have earned, saved, invested, or even inherited.
Mm-hmm.
So I think these are the major impacts that an initiative like Agewell brings in.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, of course, there would be thousands of success stories where individually people have benefited. But then in general, this is what it is.
And does your foundation collaborate with other organizations or stakeholders to enhance its reach and effectiveness in serving the adult older
See,
population?
currently in India, we have about 1,500 odd NGOs
Mm-hmm.
which work for old people. We manage the consortium for them. We guide them, we give them technical inputs, and whenever they come across any hurdle, we try and help them, guide them, handhold with and resolve a issue.
That's very important to know that there are other also organizations trying to work with you and do exactly.
No, not see. Almost everywhere in every city, almost in every locality, as a matter of fact, any part of the world, wherever there are 8, 10, 20 old people coming together, they are there to help each other. They are like small self-help groups, but they do not have the wherewithal or the capabilities to provide solutions for critical issues, which is where a large organization like Agewell comes in. And that is how we have created this consortium and we assist them.
I'd like to move forward and to mention that while the impact of knowledge, innovation, and technology has posed its challenges, it also has contributed significantly to improving the quality of life and well-being. What role does innovation and technology plays in the Agewell Foundation efforts to improve the overall welfare of seniors, and how, if you can also provide examples of innovative solutions implemented by your foundation?
See, to begin with, the very fact that we have a network of 80,000 volunteers, it's a huge number.
Yeah.
You can't possibly be sending them letters every day and guiding them. So which is where technology comes into the picture. Now it's so much more easy to broadcast. Now it's so much more easy to communicate through the computers, through cell phones, through so many different ways. So technology does play a very important role in this. Plus, the fact that old people, when they are in a crisis, they need to reach across to us. How do they communicate? They can't keep running to us all the time. So communication world over has brought in a huge change. Like now the world is so much more smaller because of communication. You are sitting in US, I am sitting in India. We are almost about 16,000 kilometers away, but we can still communicate as if we are sitting in front of each other. So this communication revolution has brought in big changes. And that is what we all depend on.
You mentioned about the important role the volunteers play in your foundation. I would like to know, how can individuals get involved in your Agewell Foundation as volunteers, and what are some of the opportunities available out there to support the foundation's mission?
See, so far as opportunities are concerned, there are endless opportunities. And we are always on the lookout for volunteers who can bring in their experience, their enthusiasm, their support in whichever way possible. I personally believe that each one of us have something or the other to do with old people in our own families, in our own localities, in our own communities. Uh, See, when a child is born, at that point of time, the possibilities are that there would be four grandparents,
Mhm.
two from the mother's side, two from the father's side, right? Even if all four of them are not available, maybe one or two, somebody would be available. If not, there would be some old people in the neighborhood. And in today's time, when children, by the time the children they reach their teens, they start believing their own parents are old people because they're obsolete. The technology is like so fast today. With this in the background, it is very important that anybody who has any sensitivity towards old people, if they want to get involved with us, they're more than welcome. They could be in any part of the world.
Mhm.
We can guide them with our experience. We can share success stories with them, and they can bring in their experience, their knowledge for overall betterment of old people. So
And
everybody is welcome. Wherever you are, whichever part of the world you are in, please come to us, and we all can bring about a change.
I think we can all learn from the projects you're doing, the work you're doing, and maybe we can implement some of your projects all over the
Definitely,
world.
definitely. We all can learn from each other.
That's right. Another important topic that I would like to discuss with you, it's about advocacy and policy initiatives. What advocacy efforts does Agewell Foundation undertake to address the needs and the rights of older adults? And how does it work to influence policy changes in favor of seniors?
See, advocacy is something which is a very slow moving wheel. Once you initiate a process, it takes a while. Now, in 25 years of our existence, we have come up with several, like I mentioned, research reports.
Mm-hmm.
Through these research reports, the moment there is a research report, we release it to the media. So the print media, electronic media, they all cover it, and they cover it extensively. Now, when a research report is published through the media, is shared through the media, a very large number of people read it and become aware of the kind of issues old people face. And they try and adapt this in their own lives.
Mm-hmm.
So advocacy is not always with the government
Mm-hmm.
or with the policymakers, but it is also with individuals, individual families, generations, young people, middle-aged people, and old people. All three of them get exposed to the same communication. So our method of advocacy is two-pronged. One, amongst the individuals and families. Two, with the government and policymakers. And this is what we do. And thirdly, now that we have the special consultative status with UN since 2011, most of our research reports are shared with UN and on the UN platform as well. So that gives a different dimension to it. So everything gets exposed to the world audience.
And how do you engage with local communities to raise awareness about the issues affecting the seniors and to promote the culture of support and inclusivity in India?
The 80,000 volunteers, each
Mm-hmm.
one of them is our spokesperson. Each one of them is proud of the fact that he or she is involved in extending a helping hand to old people, and they talk about it. They talk about it in their neighborhood, they talk about it amongst other people. And we have a large number of college students, young professionals, young educated housewives, uh, as our communicators through the social media. We put in large number of stories and posts and everything in all forms of social media, and through that we engage with younger generation, and through them with old people.
You have done, and you mentioned in this in our dialogue that you have done a lot of research, and you developed and published a lot of articles. I read about the fact that you published a healthcare training manual in 7 languages. You have done a research in combating depression in old age, and a guide to the causes of depression and symptoms, and also ways to prevent it. I know that you organized more than 36 symposiums so far, and also you have done some healthcare checkup camps, where you had all these projects and free hearing screening camps, and about the blood pressure and diabetes and other chronic diseases. And also you design different training programs, and you mentioned about the seniors as interns and volunteers, and helping to be mentors and tutors to the young kids. Could you discuss any research initiative or educational programs led by your foundation to advance the knowledge in gerontology and to improve the understanding of aging-related issues?
The aging-related issues, we try and address it through different generations, as I mentioned earlier as well. One, the very basic program that we have is titled as Share a Smile, which we conduct through schools. School students from class 3 to class 10. And these are reach out programs wherein we develop scripts for small skits. We develop scripts for songs. We identify topics for debates, painting competitions, and we coordinate it through schools. And we train the school teachers to conduct these programs. Our belief is, when a young child is given information and sensitized about needs of old people, and when they go back home, their young parents, like if somebody is studying in class 4, 5, 6, 7, the mother or the father are involved very closely in that child's homework and overall school activities. So through that, we are also communicating with the sandwich generation which is looking after its parents as well as its children. So the young adults, people in the age group of say 30 to 45. So we are communicating with children, we are communicating with the adults, and because of this communication, they become sensitive towards old people within their own families. So this is one process of reaching out to old people to bring about change. Plus, because of our research work, we are closely associated with several government bodies like National Human Rights Commission or the Planning Commission or the ministries, wherein we go and share our research reports, which brings about a change in policymakers' outlook, and they have the data and they have the information, so which helps. So these are the basic steps that we take.
And in terms of, let's say, crisis response and emergency preparedness, how does your foundation prepare for and respond to crises such as natural disasters, public health emergencies, to still ensure the safety and the well-being of older adults?
See, ironically, whenever there is a disaster scenario, the worst sufferers are old people. We had experienced earthquakes and other such things in India, the basic natural disasters, wherein again the first calamity is the medical shops closed down. So the medicines are not available. Most old people are dependent on some medicine or the other for blood pressure, for diabetes, for so many other ailments. And if they don't get the supply of their medicines, it becomes very critical. But the biggest thing was COVID. When COVID emerged, almost everybody was quarantined in their own households. People were locked up within the four walls, which meant all the family members are together and not stepping out of the house, snapping at each other. The relationships were going for a six. Most people were working from home. Old people do not understand the concept of working from home. They think that the child has been thrown out of the job.
Mm-hmm.
So they become even more insecure. Each one of us lives with the fact we all are working towards a better tomorrow for ourselves. Right? All through our life, we do that. As a child, we study to become successful. Then in our careers, we keep working harder and better. So we improve in our lives and so on. So we all are working towards a better tomorrow. And suddenly there was no tomorrow during COVID. Nobody knew what is happening. So old people became even more desperate in terms of what is going to happen with my family, or what kind of world am I leaving behind for my grandchildren. So the psychological things took over. Mental health became an issue. Uh, Food rations were not so easily available. People could not step out. People were earning less. The income was so less. If you did not have cash in hand, now how do you survive? So all this taught us lot many new lessons, and we are much better prepared to provide for essentially because we focus mainly on old people. So locally also at each district level, we're better prepared to provide for old people now.
Mm-hmm. And I think a very, let's say, hot topic these days, it's all about diversity, equity, inclusion. How do you address the diverse needs of senior population, including those from marginalized or underserved communities, and ensure that inclusivity in its programs and services?
See, that's a very interesting way of looking at it, because
Mhm.
diversity is a fact,
Mhm.
but also is the fact that there is a lot of ageism
Mhm.
when we are talking about old people. Diversity applies to everyone everywhere in the world. Diversity in terms of income, diversity in terms of race, diversity in terms of men, women, urban, rural, all sorts of things. You could be a young child, you could be a middle-aged person, or you could be an old person. But with old people, ageism also comes in. With old people, large number of disabilities also come in. The disabilities may not necessarily be only about physical disabilities. It is also about income.
Yep.
It is also about health. It is also about social interaction. It has so many different dimensions to it. Being better prepared for all this in old age is the key to all this. So we try and sensitize younger people and middle-aged people to be more sensitive towards old people at home level, at individual home levels. We try and communicate through the communities to be better prepared, and we try and counsel old people whenever they come across any such crisis. And we also, through our volunteers, we also try and hold hand to assist them in whichever way possible whenever we come across any such situation.
As you know, and you were here in New York City last week to attend different events and conferences, and you were a speaker invited to some of them. At the UN on the working agenda, we still talk about the 17 Sustainable Development Goals and sustainability. What are your key goals and priorities for the future, and how does the foundation plan to ensure its sustainability and continue impact in the long term?
See, that's a very tricky scenario. We are trying to professionalize all our work so that it continues, because I started Agewell Foundation, but then there is a limit to how long will I be around to look after Agewell. we have a team which is managing everything, and now we are trying to professionalize it even more so that it carries on. So far as sustainability goals of UN are concerned, one, unfortunately, there is nothing specific for old people amongst those goals. We can like pick and choose. Okay, housing is something which covers old people, or medication is something that covers old people, so on and so forth. But there is nothing specific for old people as such. That is what my uh, reservation is about the sustainability goals. Because if almost about 1/3 of world population in the coming years is going to become old, then obviously in the sustainability goals, there should have been a point or two specifically for old people, which is not so. As a matter of fact, in Madrid, almost 22 years back, 22, yeah, 22 years back, we should have a convention for old people was decided at the UN level. Then open-ended working group was set up in 2011. We are still struggling after 14 sessions, which was 14th was completed just last week. We are still struggling to get into that scenario. So focus on old people is rather limited so far as international at UN level scenario is concerned. That is how it is.
I think what your foundation is doing, it's really an inspiration and motivation for us to help each other and to promote the way we can in through our communities and at the local, national level. I think it's very important, and I'm really grateful that I had a chance to talk to you, and that you shared
Thank you
with
for
us.
this opportunity.
No, thank you. I think for us, you are my first guest as in our lunch and learn series. So I think it's a good karma that what you're doing will spread around the world, and we are gonna learn from you and from your programs, and hopefully other countries will adopt some of the things you're doing. So I want to thank you again for being with us today, and I want to thank you for those for joining us in today's Lunch and Learn series, where we explore the key topics related to the UN Sustainable Development Goals. We hope that you found this discussion insightful and inspiring. Remember that every small action contributes to a larger impact. And also would like you to stay connected with us for more sessions as we continue to delve into each of the 17 SDGs and discover different practical ways to make a difference. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this series with other committed to global change, and to stay updated on our latest efforts and events. To learn more about our mission and initiatives or make a donation, you can go to wafunif.org. And I'm sure they can also find you, Mr. Himanshu, on different social medias, on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. And I think, of course, we can read more and contact you through our website, the way we started the conversation with you. So thank you again. It was a pleasure.
You're most welcome.
I hope we can continue our conversation a little time, and congratulations for 25 years of doing a wonderful work, and see you next time. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Stay well. Bye.
No, thank you. Bye.